Hey everyone, is the Fed beating us up like Georgia beat up TCU last night? Oh, I'm sorry if you're a TCU fan, a little bit of a gut punch there, but we are going to find out if the Fed is trying to bully us around in the economy today. So thank you so much for joining me. Welcome to this episode of SRT Live. I am your host, Sean, with the Sean Richard Mortgage Team here at Guaranteed Rate, and we've got another big week ahead of us. Now, last week, if you recall, we had a major second half of the week coming up. We're going to talk about that today. We're also going to talk about what data that we get later this week that's going to make a huge impact for home buyers and for real estate agents. So if that's you, stay tuned. Let's get in and let's talk about it. All right, so let's take a look and do week in review as we always do, looking back at last week. Big week. First and foremost, we saw that we had the jobless claims come out on Thursday, as we always do. And this is especially important because we're always watching the trend with jobless claims. Now, if you're tuning in for the first time, jobless claims are individuals filing unemployment for the first time. It's the initial jobless claims. Then we have continuing, which is individuals renewing their claim, their benefits. So last week, these are week over week numbers. The market analysts were expecting 225,000 new unemployment filings. This dropped all the way to 204,000. Now, that seems to be counterintuitive to what we've been seeing lately. We've seen the trend. It went up, it came down, and we thought we were on an upswing again. And it came in and it dipped by 20,000 jobs. Previous week's reading was 223,000. So not only did we miss the target that analysts were expecting, we dropped significantly from the prior week. Continuing claims dropped pretty good amount as well. Went from 1.718 million to 1.694 million. So what's that? A little bit over 20,000, almost 25,000 continuing claims. And so this is the opposite direction of what the Fed is wanting to see. We're going to dive into that a little bit further in the what to watch segment, but we want to understand that right now, with a recession potentially looming, the Fed and their monetary policy can't really slow down until they start to see the economy slow down. And reducing the number of unemployment claims, the strong labor market is having an opposite impact on the economy. Now, we also got the JOLTS report. The JOLTS report is the job openings report. Market analysts thought this was going to come in right at 10 million. It didn't. It came in at 10.5 million, which is, or just shy of 10.5, which is right about where it was last month. So again, yet another report indicating that the labor market is staying strong. And this is not what the Fed is looking for right now. That was last week as well. On Friday, we got the huge BLS, Board of Labor and Statistics Jobs Report. And on the surface, this looked like a gangbusters report. Expectations were that this was going to come out with around 200,000 new jobs created for the month of December. Instead, we got 223,000 new jobs created in December. So what did that do to the markets at the end of last week? Well, honestly, in the mortgage market, since you're buyers and real estate agents, this is how it's going to impact you, is in the mortgage market, interest rates improved, but not because of the headline information. It's because when you dig a little bit deeper into the jobs report, what we see is that a significant amount of those new job creations were part-time work. So these are not highly skilled long-term jobs. These are more temporary seasonal employment, which really gave markets an indication that the jobs report was much weaker than it looked like on the surface. And then unemployment did tick down from 3.7% to 3.5%. If you haven't seen it, the media has been all over that. And so despite the underlying weakness in the jobs report, unemployment rate did tick down. Remember, these two reports are from different data. The jobs report, the unemployment, or the The jobs creation numbers are from the business survey coming from businesses. And then the unemployment rate is coming from a household survey using the modeling methods that they have in place. And then, goodness gracious, so unemployment dropping from 3.7 to 3.5. Now we also got the Federal Open Market Committee's meeting minutes from their last meeting. And this is really important because this tells us what's the Fed thinking? What are they talking about in their meetings? And it gives us a little bit more insight behind the decisions that they're making with their monetary policy. Ultimately, the Fed's concerned about the job market being too hot, paraphrasing here, and they want to see it cool down. Now, on the surface, you could say, well, they want to see people lose their jobs. And although that kind of might be the case, ultimately it boils down to the strength of the labor market, and they want to see the labor market cool down. And so they're going to keep continuing on their pace of monetary policy to get that to happen. It gives us really the sense that the Fed is happy to push us into a recession with their monetary policy. They completely underestimated inflation at the beginning, over the last couple of years, and that was a mistake by the Fed. And now they're going to make up for that mistake by making another mistake and pushing us into recession. So we really want to see the job market cool off a little bit. Job openings come down. We actually did hear that Amazon going to be laying off somewhere in the neighborhood of 18,000 employees. Obviously, feel for anyone losing their job over at all, but the strength that's currently in the labor market is pushing the Fed to take actions that may push us further deeper into recession. Now, we did hear from Jerome Powell today, and really his comments were relatively mundane. He pretty much reiterated the Fed's goals and previously stated goals and what they're targeting. As always, the Fed is looking to get core inflation down to 2%. Right now, we're running quite a bit hotter than that, but we have some help, hopefully, on the horizon. Looking ahead this week, Wednesday, tomorrow, we've got pretty calm day. We've got 10-year Treasury auction, so 10-year Treasury notes. But then on Thursday, as always, we get the jobless claims, but most importantly, we get an inflation report. We get CPI for the month of December. This is Consumer Price Index, and this is going to tell us if we are continuing to trend down with inflation. This could be a big market mover. So if you're a home buyer or if you're a real estate agent, know that this report could have a very positive impact on mortgage rates. Right now, we've seen demand subside in the real estate market, partly because of home prices rising so much over the last several years, but most recently because of the elevated rate environment that we've seen happen since probably April of last year. So if we continue to see inflation decline, that will likely lead to a decline in mortgage rates, and we're going to see a lot of home buyers come off the sideline and get back into the market. So real estate agents, make sure that you are having this conversation with your clients and that there could be some help on the horizon with inflation and mortgage rates coming down. And then on Friday, we get the University of Michigan consumer sentiment. We're going to see what everybody thinks about the economy and what's going on, and if they're optimistic about what the next 6 to 12 months is going to look like. So that comes out on Friday. Now, as always, what are we watching going forward? Well, I've talked about it for a while now. I talk about inflation pretty much every week. All eyes are on the inflation, the CPI report coming out Thursday. Are we going to see inflation not only come down, because the expectation is it will come down, but the question mark is it going to come down more than expectations, which that's really what would have a significant positive impact on mortgage rates. And then, is the labor market creating a bigger problem for the Fed? We have job openings staying steady. We have declining unemployment claims. So when is the shoe going to drop on the labor market? We're seeing so many other aspects of the economy indicating recession. We're not seeing as much of that out of the job and labor market. So is that going to push the Fed into continuing to push forward with their rate hikes and their current monetary policy plan, which could ultimately drive us into a longer, deeper recession? we're going to be keeping an eye on that as we continue. Now, some important dates coming up. We've got the CPI report coming out this Thursday. We have another inflation report coming out on January 27th. That's PCE, which is, PCE, which is consumption expenditure. And then we've got the Fed meeting starting on January 31st, ending on February 1st. And that's going to be a big one. What are they going to do? Are we going to see the rate hike that they've been kind of telegraphing at 0.25%? Or are we going to see them calm down and slow down? I think a big part of that decision is going to come from what we see in the two inflation reports between now and then. CP, consumer wow, I've just completely lost my train of thought. Acronyms are kicking my tail today. So that's really all I've got for you today. I appreciate you tuning in to this episode of SRT Live. As always, I'm your host. I'll be back next Tuesday with another live edition of SRT Live. If you have any questions or want to talk about any of the economic data that impact our industry, if you're a real estate agent or if you're a home buyer and you want to talk about your plans and make sure that you understand how the economic environment is going to be changing for you, don't hesitate to leave comments below. Hit me up on my cell or reach out to me by direct message. Thanks so much for joining me. Have an incredible rest of your week. Take care.